โมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังนัมมัสสามิ When people ask monks about the practice of meditation, one of the common comments they make all the time is, I can't meditate because I'm not peaceful. Or I can't meditate because I'm thinking too much. And that's why we meditate. If we were peaceful, then we wouldn't have to meditate. It's like in the old days, say 150 years ago, people came to this part of Victoria, into the mountains looking for gold. Many people gave up looking for gold. They couldn't find any. A few people found some. A few people made their fortune. But more people didn't. They gave up. And they gave up because there was too much earth. Not enough gold. One reason why gold is valuable is because there's not much of it. There's much more earth and rock. And it takes a lot of effort to find gold and to keep finding it. And training our minds, our hearts, our minds, following the Buddha's teachings, it's the same. We have to find the gold, the clarity, the insight, the wisdom, the goodness in our hearts. But we have to accept the starting place is that there's a lot more earth than gold. There's a lot more thinking, random thinking, distracted thinking, unskillful thinking, than there is mindfulness, insight, clarity, peace. It's just the way things are, isn't it? So of course, meditation is often an experience that feels like just endlessly wading through the mud of the mind, or digging through the earth of the mind. But all the teachings the Buddha gave us are looking at that problem from different aspects and giving us solutions. But he couldn't do the practice, or he couldn't wade through the mud for us, but he could give us tools and reflections and guidance how to do it. And he himself had done it through his own practice. So he was a living example of what he taught. He had found the gold, waded through the negativity and confusion of his own mind, till he got to the point where he saw the truth, the true nature of existence. And he said, well, all those thoughts, all that mud or earth that we're wading through, all those thoughts are ultimately impermanent. They have the characteristic of being impermanent, transient. Because of that, they're unsatisfactory. They're not the place to look for happiness or expect happiness. And they're not self. They're not a permanent, lasting self. They have no abiding essence in themselves, and therefore shouldn't be clung to as self. So he didn't. Once you have that insight clearly in the mind, then you don't cling, so you don't suffer. So the Buddha didn't suffer. Those people who have practiced what the Buddha taught don't suffer because they no longer cling. What they know is not worth clinging to, not self. And they found the gold in their hearts. And these characteristics of existence, anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, selfless nature of phenomena, the Buddha said they're universal. They apply to all conditions. Sankhara, sabbe sankhara anicca, sabbe sankhara dukkha, sabbe dhamma anatta. So even nibbana, we say, is not a condition, but it is without self. We use this word sankhara because it just means things. The whole point is when the mind clears through the mud, gets to the gold, when mindfulness, clarity, insight is established, then the mind goes beyond, say, concepts and descriptions, what we call conventional reality. So it goes beyond the words, just sees the nature of phenomena. That's why the Buddha used the word sankhara, just things. So all thoughts are sankharas, good and bad, refined or coarse. That's the nature of sankharas, mental states, intentions, thoughts. They arise, they pass away. That's their nature, good and bad. But the reason we don't see that is because we get caught up into all those thoughts, into the mud, the earth, all the time. And we keep using language to label everything. We get caught up in the language and the details and the description of everything all the time. So we don't see the gold for the mud. So normally, rather than seeing a thought arise and pass away, we give importance to it and meaning, whether it's good or bad. We get caught up with all that meaning and the details, and that feeds more thinking. And we cling to the thoughts again, and we identify and give an importance to them again, and on it goes. So it seems like our mind is never peaceful, because there's always one more thought to think, one more mental state to identify with, good or bad, happy or sad, coarse or refined. It seems endless, just like an endless trail of thought, an endless story, the never-ending story of the mind, on and on and on. Because through our lack of insight, through the delusion of the mind or the delusion of the mud, we just keep grasping and attaching to every next thought. And quite often as you practice meditation, then there's even a fear of not having a next thought. What if I stop thinking? What will I do then? What if my mind was just to go completely still and silent? Some people are afraid of that. It brings up fear and nervousness, because we're so used to identifying with every thought and every mood and every emotion that just the very idea of a mind that is still makes us uncomfortable sometimes. That's another question you hear when people ask about the practice of meditation. They ask about why there's so many thoughts, but then they ask, when the thoughts pass away and the mind does become still, what do you do next? What happens next? What should I do next? Which is another thought, isn't it? So even when we do experience some quiet states of mind, sooner or later the doubt arises. What next? So many of our teachers, Ajahn Chah and many of the meditation masters I trained with in Thailand, they hammer the point over and over again. We've got to learn to contemplate or reflect wisely on our experience, train our mind in contemplation and developing insight. Because over and over again we get fooled by the next thought, and it distracts us and takes us back into confusion, back into the world, back into the mud. Like when we practice meditation, there's these two aspects of meditation, calm and insight, samatha and vipassana. We hear about, you can read in the texts, we hear about in talks. Ajahn Chah used to say that the two sides of the same thing. There's the one mind that we have, this quality of knowing. He said it's like a plank of wood or a piece of wood. You pick up that piece of wood, well, there's two ends to it. One end, the other end. Calm and insight, or samatha and vipassana meditation are like the two ends of the wood. You pick up the piece of wood and both ends come up together. They're two sides of the same thing. So ultimately they're inseparable. As we practice meditation, we put a lot of effort into bringing up mindfulness. And we're encouraged to do that, to practice continuous mindfulness. So if we're doing breath meditation, to be mindful of the breath going in, breath going out over and over again, until the mind becomes settled on the breath, knows the breath, and is mindful of the breath. And with that we get rapture and tranquility arising, the calm of samatha. So body and mind feels more calm and relaxed, and these are pleasant, attractive qualities. And they're qualities that human beings can experience through our own efforts, and we should experience, because they bring with them a sense of well-being. When we're mindful, we feel good. Even if we've been experiencing many unpleasant things, physical pain and discomfort or problems in our life, when we establish mindfulness, it's accompanied by a feeling of well-being. So if we have many moments of mindfulness, because we're practicing in a very determined way, then we'll have many moments of experiencing well-being, which is good. Sometimes it becomes very intense, so as you practice meditation on the breath or any other meditation object, the mind is letting go of the distractions and becoming very calm and aware of the breath. And then we can experience bliss, pleasant feelings, blissful feelings. That can become quite intense. Can even get to the point where you let go of everything else. You're just knowing the mind itself. Even the breath becomes so subtle. You don't notice it anymore. The body, you don't notice. So you're not caught up into seeing things, hearing things, tasting, smelling, touching. You're just knowing the mind itself. Your attention is turned inwards. And that's very pleasant. But when we begin to emerge from that, we'll start to think again. Back to the mud, the earth. And what happens time after time, it seems, is that instead of contemplating and investigating at that point, we grasp at the pleasure of that experience we've had. We've been very calm, relaxed, happy. As we come out of that state and start to think again, remember things, sense things with our body, we're immediately distracted and we're back with the thinking mind, back with all the earth and the mud. Sometimes we are caught up in the pleasure of the meditation we've just experienced, the state of calm. So we're thinking how to get it back, or how to hold on to it. Or sometimes just impressed by what we've experienced, so we're just thinking about how good it was. Maybe even think how good we are because we've experienced that. Instead of seeing those thoughts, those very thoughts that form around, about what we've just experienced, instead of contemplating them and seeing them arise and pass away as impermanent, as not self, we cling on to them. So at coming out of a state of calm, which is a good thing, wholesome thing, we can still create suffering because we don't contemplate. So the suffering comes because we want to get back to what we had before, and we feel like we've lost something or miss it. Or we create a new self out of it and attach to that. Maybe become a little more conceited than before. Feel that we've got something good, something special even. What the Buddha encouraged us to do is just contemplate, observe the arising and passing away of thoughts, perceptions at that moment. Even when you have a very peaceful, bright, energized meditation, if your mind comes out of that, whatever comes up into your consciousness, just observe it. And if you maintain your mindfulness, you shouldn't really fail to notice that every thought arises and passes away. Even thoughts about your meditation, what went right, what went wrong, what was good, what was not good. And this is how the Buddha encouraged us to develop our meditation. Develop mindfulness, and as that becomes more continuous, we call that samadhi. The mind becomes firm, steady, unwavering, and then use that to contemplate the nature of phenomena, to observe thoughts arising and passing away. But so often we fall down, because even if we put effort into developing a state of calm and we feel very relaxed and the mind may let go of many things temporarily, we fail to pursue insight or wisdom afterwards. And off we go. We've had our hit for the day. We're happy. Off we go and do other things without preserving the mindfulness and contemplating. And this is one obstacle people experience in the practice, failure to develop wisdom or insight. Even if they have put effort into meditation, improved their mindfulness, even if they've experienced states of calm, bliss, it's not yet developing into wisdom. It's only wisdom, truly seeing, true knowledge and vision, truly seeing the way things are, that we can really uproot the causes of suffering. By seeing these universal characteristics of existence, that all things are impermanent, not self. Ajahn Chah used to say, if you're not sure how to develop wisdom, as you develop calm in your meditation, mindfulness improves, you're more calm, more steady. Turn to contemplate your physical body, the 32 parts of the body, the 4 elements, the impermanent nature of this physical form that's sitting here. What is it that you notice as you come out of a state of calm? If you do attain a bit of samadhi, even if only briefly, what is it you start to experience as you come out of that? Well, it's the body. The sensations of the body, the feelings, pleasure and pain based on this body, the heaviness of the body, the tiredness of the body, sights which you see with your eyes, sounds you hear with your ears. It's the body that starts to become apparent as you come back out of samadhi. If you've experienced some samadhi, you experience the body first. That's what we have to contemplate. The feelings, the changing feelings. If you're meditating and your mindfulness becomes very calm, your attention is turned inwards, you let go of the body, the mind is very bright and happy for a while. Then it comes out of that. First, you can't help but notice some of the painful feelings and discomfort associated with this body. We start to move, don't we? Maybe our legs have gone numb or they're in pain, so we move. We feel heat and cold. We feel aches and pains in our muscles. Maybe we start to experience tiredness. That's exactly the time to contemplate. Whatever thought or opinion or view you're forming, whatever perception is arising, then contemplate it. Observe it arise, pass away. It's changing. You'll see when mindfulness is strong and you turn to contemplate, then it's very natural to observe arising and ceasing in your experience, rather than getting caught up in the details, the story about things. You come out of your meditation and straight back into planning what you're going to do next, or some worry that you've got to do with your life, some problem comes back and we start trying to solve it, prepare for the next thing. At that moment, just observe the arising and passing away of thoughts. This is the hardest part of meditation. In the beginning, we always think the hardest part of meditation is just bringing up mindfulness, calming down, being able to sit and develop some calm, some peace. But even harder than that is having attained some peace, to maintain mindfulness and contemplate arising and ceasing of experience. We're just so used to believing every thought, train of thought, every opinion, every bit of information, and often we straight away are looking to reinforce, to reconfirm all the sort of information and knowledge and thoughts and words that we were caught up with before. All the earth, all the mud. Straight away we dive back into it and lose our mindfulness so quickly. In this modern world, you do some meditation and attain some peace, but then the next thing you do is look for a phone, or look for someone to talk to, or look for something to look at. What the Buddha had us do is maintain the mindfulness and keep observing the arising and passing away of those thoughts, or those desires, or those plans. That's where we can really train ourselves to let go and really understand how to train the mind to let go. You'll see when mindfulness is strong and continuous, you can do that for a while. Eventually the mind will get caught up back in all the thinking and the moods and the opinions and views again, but at least for a while, just see how you can maintain that mindfulness and just observe a new mood, a new thought, a new sensation coming up into your experience, a new feeling, pleasant or unpleasant. Just watch it from this place we call equanimity or detachment, and keep doing that. It's giving you a new perspective on your own experience of this body and mind. Seeing it as a group of different changing phenomena. It takes away all the labeling, endlessly thinking, discussing things, liking things, disliking things. Probably our normal habit as humans is just to always keep looking for the pleasant. So we're always looking for something else to stimulate us, make us feel good, happy. And we see that as better than, well, things that are unpleasant, painful. So our kind of default normal habit is that. But the pleasant is also a cause for clinging, a cause for delusion. Because it doesn't last either. The next pleasant experience doesn't last. So whether we're grasping at the pleasant or the unpleasant, they have this same quality. They arise, they pass away. If you can get that established, this is what we call right view, samma ditthi. Just seeing the arising and passing away of phenomena. And you're looking at your life in the correct way. It doesn't mean to say you can't have any pleasure, but you have to accept it doesn't last. That's the nature of this world. This physical form doesn't support endless pleasure. It doesn't work. Endlessly seeing beautiful sights, hearing attractive sounds, melodious sounds, tasting tasty food, smelling delightful fragrances, pleasant touch with the body and the skin. You can't sustain that. If you can see that and you train your mind to see the arising and passing away of phenomena, then your mind is with right view. It doesn't have to get stressed or suffer with this truth. It just knows it. This is the way it is. If you practice meditation every day, then you're going to get used to contemplating in this way, seeing the way things are, seeing the arising and passing away of thoughts, moods, emotions, feelings, physical feelings, pain and pleasure. And this is where we find true peace. What we tend to do is always run away from what we don't like towards what we do like. But that's not peaceful. It's tiring and ultimately impossible. Because we're looking for peace in conditions, the conditioned nature of existence, and it can't do it for us because those conditions are constantly changing. It's like the ancient king standing on the beach commanding the sea to stop. It just can't be done. The sea goes according to the tides, which go according to gravity, the pull of the moon. Tide comes in, tide goes out. And the wind on the surface of the water is always bringing the next wave in. You can't command that to stop. It's just the way things are. If you can see that, then there's no suffering. You just know, oh, this is the way it is. But if you don't see it, you're like that king, just standing there endlessly commanding the sea to stop moving. That's the mind of delusion that doesn't see impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and the selfless nature of phenomena. We take ownership and try and command it to do what we want. We command ourselves, we want ourselves to be a certain way, don't want all these thoughts, don't want any more mud in the mind, get rid of it, but it won't disappear just by commanding it. We don't want any pain and discomfort with the body, we don't want to get older, we don't want any hassles, any problems from other people, from the world. But we can't command these things because they're not self. A better way is train your mind to observe the way things are by contemplating. Establishing mindfulness and then observing, watching the way things are. When you watch, then you learn, don't you? You learn, you understand, you know because you've seen how things operate, how things are. So then you can have this insight, oh, thought is just thought. Mud is just mud. Thought is just thought, feeling is just feeling. Feelings arise and pass away, they come and go. Thought arises, passes away. This is wisdom. It's wisdom that frees us from suffering. So we have to keep putting effort into our meditation, to keep bringing up the mindfulness, and we will experience calm. But we also have to contemplate that even that calm is impermanent, not to be clung to. The more we develop insight into the way things are, then the more this frees the mind. So it frees the mind up, it's more spacious, less cluttered because there's less clinging. That spaciousness of the mind brings true peace, true freedom. So I'll leave you with those reflections tonight.